Okay. All right. So the father of modern art, Paul Cézanne. Okay. That's what he was known as, the father. And you can jot these things down in your sketchbook notes. And like I said, if you don't have the notes for design or any of that project yet, also one of the three post-impressionists is Paul Cézanne. So why would he be considered the father of modern art? Paul, which I spell his name, Cézanne. We'll hop in right there. Lovely. Okay, father of modern art, Paul Cézanne. Okay, he said everything in nature was based on the cube, the cone, the cylinder, and the sphere. All right, and that's what it was. He nearly starved to death when he was alive as an artist, but he only sold a handful of paintings. He wasn't really considered a great artist or anything like that. He was trying to abstract stuff, flatten everything out, just completely deny him any kind of perspective. And the reason, and him and the other two post-impressionists, as well as all the impressionists, was changing up the art, trying to come up with something new ideas, was because of that invention in the late 1800s. Does anyone know that invention? What was that invention? Does anyone know? That was the late 1800s. Okay, that's good. The invention of the camera, photography. That's why they changed the art world changed. So the three post-impressionists. Three post-impressionists right here. Okay, artists, Cézanne, Van Gogh. The part of Xerox, he's over there by the color well. Van Gogh, and who's the other one? 1,000 points in the grade book, 3 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and get it. Paul, this is 12. Go again. Paul, go again. Those are the three post-impressionists right here. These guys right here. Now, of course, father of modern art, that's Cézanne. But he's kind of the main one we're talking about here today. But they were changing up stuff. Cézanne tried to flatten everything out, so everything on the nature of the shape. Van Gogh painted what he saw. You know, he would paint this boot. You know, he would probably, if he was in here today, he'd probably draw and paint this. Okay, he would paint stuff he saw in nature. Just he would literally paint what he saw. Gauguin, he just made stuff up from his imagination. He just, you know, sometimes he would go out on the beach and paint girls and stuff, but normally he would just make up stuff out of his mind, in his imagination, dreams, fantasies, and that's what he would do. So they were all kind of different type of work. Cézanne is mainly known also for still lifes, mainly still lifes. This object set on the table, you know, whether it's geometric shapes, I don't even know if he did those necessarily, but he also did just basic bottles and apples and that kind of thing. About 15, 20 years ago, one of his paintings, still lifes, sold for $48 million. About fourth in line of the highest price artwork ever sold. Van Gogh, his last painting sold for $86.5 million. Gauguin, not sure on his, but Picasso has one for about $148 million. I think it's the highest price artwork ever sold. But and then there's where maybe the Monk Stream, different ones, but those are the highest price works. I mean, you can make a lot of money doing art, obviously, but you know, a lot of these guys, of course, making more when they're yeah, that's the way it is. Now, so you got Cézanne. Again, the invention of the camera, because when how did artists make their money before? They would just paint portraits. That was their main money-making source. They would paint model. You'd have to sit there for hours while they drew and painted you. When they invented the camera in the late 1800s, 2 seconds, boom, and then people would rather do that than sit there and, you know, stand still for hours and hours. So artists started losing money. They came up with new ideas. The Impressionists. Who can name a post or just any Impressionist artist? Not these three. These were more the post ones. Who are like some of the main ones? One guy started with M. He's the one that really was the main starter of it. M-O-N. Monet. That's it. Monet. Claude Monet painted like the flowers and that kind of thing in the field. Monet paints how light hits an object. How light would hit like he would do, make this pine cone. He would have how light hits, so it would look kind of abstract, okay? But he did like one of a haystack and different things. but how light hits us. So they were coming up with it was just as an exercise. And then these guys come around. Cezanne, he influenced over here Picasso. He influenced Picasso to do Cubism. Bob Ross with it. About the third or fourth time, he started kind of changing it up. Fifth time, 50th time, 75th time he painted it. It just all looked like squares and rectangles, cubes. That's all it looked like. You couldn't even tell what it was. And that's why he's considered the father of modern art. First guy to ever abstract anything in art. Ever got it. First guy to ever do it. Okay, so that's it. So that's kind of the invention and their influence on Picasso and Cubism and Braque, and he's the reason you have abstract art like Jackson Pollock over there. Scan in maybe on the skeleton, Jackson Pollock over there. Under Christina's wall, see Jackson Pollock. That's why you have that. I mean, because of the camera, basically, and Paul Cezanne. So that leads us to the first shape that will hit the cube. Now, as you do the cube, now in the drawing class I had back in college in New Mexico, one of the greatest teachers I ever had. Two of the hardest I ever had. When he walked in, they just said, no one's making that. Highest grade you can make in this class will be a B. So that was the first word they said. And then it was just, and you just celebrated if you made a C. You're just hoping for a C, basically. And so then this guy was an absolute perfectionist. Both of these two people that I had, but this guy in particular, this is the first assignment. First class, and met on a Tuesday and a Thursday, went for 3 hours long, 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. First day he talks for nearly 3 hours. And then right at the last 5 minutes, 5 till 6, he gives this assignment. He said, you got to have it by Thursday. Thursday, at the beginning of class. If you don't have it, you're gone. That's it. You're done. You're not even in the class anymore. Okay, so he had to make a cube, a cylinder, sphere, and a cone. And you had to make them, and they had to be exactly this size. They had to be exactly this size, exactly this. They had to be painted solid white. They had to be sturdy. They couldn't be styrofoam. You can buy little styrofoams at a craft store or something. They couldn't be that. It had to be solid. Okay? And he graded them literally. This is true story. We went outside brick wall. There were 27 people in the class when it started. 27 people. Okay? He didn't want 27. Okay? He thought it was too many. He wanted it to be around 20 or less. Okay? But so what happened was, he said, if you didn't have it, you're gone. We show up Thursday. 2 people didn't have it. They're gone. He said, bye. You're gone. You're not in the class anymore. Okay. Then 3, and then here's how he graded. They had to be sturdy enough. He went out and literally threw them against the brick wall. If they broke, bye. They're not here. If they fell apart, you were gone. You weren't even in the class. So you just had to go sign up for something else. So that's how he graded them. And of course, these were 1985, so they don't look too great now. But back then, they looked fairly decent, And the easiest ones to make. You got a day and a half. You got a day basically to make these things. So the easiest was the cone. Made that pretty quick. Got some Bristol board, type poster board, type paper, thick stuff to something to make it sturdy. That was pretty easy. The cylinder, oatmeal can, had to be a little bit taller. So this was pretty easy to do. These two, wasn't hard to get. I figured I could get the cube. I struggled, did a little bit to make it sturdy, but I figured I could get that one. The hard one that he knew going in was going to be this, the sphere. This was going to be the tricky one here to get a ball shape that's going to work. Okay, it was about the size of a softball. That's about the exact size, like a softball. And you could use a softball if you tore all the seams off. You had to undo it and make it smooth, which would takes a little time to do. And the other option, just have a perfect white, solid ball shape. Now this is not the one I originally had. It's about this size, but the one I had, I couldn't find it. I got down to that Thursday morning class, still didn't have these two made, and started to panic. My art career was nearly over at that point. I probably wouldn't even be an art person. But then I went to a toy store, found a little hard plastic ball, had some water in it. You could shake it, but it was hard plastic. It was solid. Came in this box. Boom! I was able to get it done. So that's how you did it. And what we did with them, I have no idea. But that was it. So the best way to do this would be for every student to have your own shapes. And of course, most colleges are probably going to have you do that. But have your own shapes. You put a spotlight on it, and then draw them out. Now, like you see up there on the examples, see over there, scan maybe the examples there. Can you scan over there examples? See the examples you got. that's how we used to do them. But we only had just these 4 total. That's all we had. Then I got all these shapes up here. Let me just get over here at the top over here. These, we got those. So tomorrow, like I said, you'll have that set up. And now we just draw that. Just a section. Just a section. Can be probably the hardest one to do, and it's or if you've never had maybe geometry or something that showed you how to kind of do perspective a little bit, or maybe what a vertical or what the word parallel means, it may be a little tricky for you. But in 2 seconds, we can show you how to do it. Okay? So this is the cube. So take a look at this. So this is the big one here on how to draw the cube. Again, on the project, you can do this in charcoal or graphite, but make it dark if you do graphite. That's so good. Okay, so now, we'll hit that again tomorrow. So the cube, this will be the first one, okay? Okay, so everyone see. Now, the cube, a couple ways you may see the cube. Okay, you may see just the 2 sides. Boom, boom, right there. You may see it like this. It may be like this. You might see that, okay? Now I'm just freehanding it in. You'll do it with a ruler, okay? You're gonna have a ruler, make it all straight lines and all that. We'll have those out tomorrow. But I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes, just sketching it in. Now the key though to know how to do these, you gotta know what parallel means. All verticals are parallel. All horizontals are parallel. Lines, they're never gonna meet. And then all your diagonals are parallel. So that, you gotta know what that means, okay? To be able to do basic perspective, okay? So now you may see it like that. You may see just the top and the bottom right here, this and this, okay? So it would look like this. It'd also be kind of a 1 point, like a perspective thing. Okay? Like the point here, it may be going over here. This might be a point up there. The lines are like leading to. So it's maybe like a 1 point perspective. So the way I'm going to do the big one here, so you can see, is going to be with 3 sides. That may be the way you see it in the still life. You may see it like that too, though, screwing on what you see. All right. All right. So here's how you would draw the cube, seeing 3 sides. Maybe seeing it kind of like that. Okay. So let's draw first just a square. Of course, use your ruler in the middle. Now, the next one, here's where you get on that parallel thing. The diagonal, okay, right there. It's got to go the same direction. It's not going to go out. Just right there. Right there. Okay, see that? Now, how do you finish the other side? This can still be tricky. You got to know these is going the same way. Horizontals going the same way. So, right there. Okay, that goes there. And then the last part, same direction. Edge of the paper. You could use even a T-square when you get, probably not on this project, but in perspective, doing drafting, architecture, if you want to do that. Now, so these are going the same direction. See all these verticals? All going the same direction, usually the edge of the paper, okay? So that's how you do it. So again, if you don't get that, we can show you in 2 seconds, you know how to do it. You may have your angles off, but it's real important to get that right, okay? Now, so how do you shade the cube? That's the next big thing. Now, this one we're going to put a little arrow right here. This is just showing where the light's coming. So when we do about Tuesday of next week, the lights will put off on the spotlight over there, shining on the big table here with the setup, and it'll change it up. So the first couple of days, starting tomorrow and Monday, you can just get it sketched out. That won't take too long. Just a light outline. Remember, just like on the sphere we did originally, where you don't want to get too dark outline. Light outline. Then the lights go off. Don't shade till the lights are off because it'll change from the spotlight. So lights come in there. That's the arrow means the light coming right there. One light source. The ball shape, we did the lights on. You had 20 lights in here on the ball shape, right? This one, this is going to be 1 though. Okay, so if the lights come in there, this isn't getting light. This is nothing. So you're gonna shade this out. This is going to be all shaded in. You're going to blend this out. Now you're getting your charcoal graphite, but you're just going to nearly black this out completely, or it's going to be really, really dark gray. Okay, real dark gray right here. Okay. Of course, you shade it neatly and everything. And this is all just a shading technique, just like the Da Vinci copy was. It's all about shading here. Okay. All right. This is all about shading. So now this light's going to here. This side's not going to hardly have anything. It's just going to be white. It's just going to be completely white. The top, you might not get as much light. It's going to be kind of a gray. So you're going to like 3 values basically, make it a little bit lighter. So this is going to be a light gray. Okay? That's it. That's all you do. Okay? So that's the cube. Now, one other thing, the cast shadow. We're going to show you the cast shadow of each object. So try to put those in, and you'll see it on some you might not when you see the setup. Some of the cast shadows will go up on one side of the triangle, or an object, come off the side. It'll go down the table, literally all the way across the floor and up this wall over here. That's how long these shadows will go. Okay, so like this one. All the way. Like I said, if there's another object there, it would go. But right there, you can say that little thin white line, but you're thin to darken that in. Right next to it, it's blacked out. Darkest part of that core of the shadow, darkest part, or that cast shadow, and then still those 6 elements of light we talked about with the sphere. So a lot of us have already hit. But and then you're going to blend this out. And then, now, as far as blending on this project, you can blend your tortillon. This could be where that comes in, although I don't really like those, but tissue, finger, whatever you're going to use. Now, the object, you don't have to blend it. It can stay kind of that textured if you're really good with the shading. But you can blend this if you like. Just don't over blend, it'll turn gray. Especially with the lights off, it'll all turn gray. So I would be careful. Now, your cast shadow, of course, you can blend those. That's no problem. They're smooth, shadows are smooth. And you don't want to have, again, those dark outlines. We'll talk about that tomorrow when you're drawing. Okay, so and that's it. That's it on the cube. So that's the cube drawing there. Okay, you got the cube? Yep. All right, so there's the cube. Now, we'll hang them up again on the end. All right, so the cube, we got it. Now, the next one is the ball shape, the sphere. So we already did a sphere the other day. This one we'll do in charcoal. You can see it a little better. We did it with the pencil. This will be the sphere. Now remember how to draw the circle, right? You've got to do a perfect circle on here. You don't want to just freehand it out. You want to make sure it's a, you don't want to do it like Da Vinci did in that contest. You want to make it perfect circle. And try to make it freehand-it, hold it seven, but don't freehand it. What did I say? You want to trace around a compass or roll a tape, something that'll get to a nice circle. Some of them, again, the larger the circle, the harder. You're going to have some basketballs, bowling balls, soccer balls. So there's going to be some bigger ones on the table. Okay, so they may be large according to how you do it. And then I mentioned the other day, you could go to Las Vegas, you can win $1,000 cash if you can draw that perfect circle. And then I did go and I got it. So that was a nice little $1,000 where I actually knocked it out. But right here it is. So I won't get it today. So there it is. Perfect circle. And then the light source is coming from here again. Right there. I didn't really do that. But that's it. So there it is. So shading it. Now this has got one light source. So the other day it had 20 right here with all the lights. Today it's just that one source. So maybe it hits about right there somewhere. Okay, maybe kind of lightly do that. Shading, cross contour, hatching. Again, I'm going quickly with this, so you want to take your time, make them neat, perfect as possible. So I'm going to shade in, and that cross contour, your technique that you like, what's good for you, and see what we got. The circle. And you can blend it, you can erase a little further if you erase off, use your kneaded eraser, however you want to get this thing to perfection. If you accidentally go over your highlight, you can erase that back out, of course, too. Your eraser, whether it's charcoal or graphite, whatever you're going to use, okay? All right, so let's say you got your sphere all ready to roll. Okay, you got your highlights. Now, the cast shadow on the sphere, again, it's different than the cube. It's just like we did the other day. It's going to look something like this. You take a little curved thing like that. So your reflected light, if you have. There we go. Any questions so far? Fade it out. Have the video coming. Fade it out right there. And then there's the thing. You want to soften the, you can do a little soften again. Don't overdo the blending. It'll turn great. And then, so if you had your eraser, you can do a little there. But that's the sphere. And then we got two shapes to go. All right, so any question on the sphere? All right, one last thing on the sphere. Now, two more shapes. You have the cylinder and the cone. So they're very similar. Very similar. So the cone won't take very long at all. Okay, here's the next shape. And if you're doing that Da Vinci copy, get that left out first on there. Okay, so any questions so far? Here we go. All right, the cylinder. Okay, here's the cylinder. Okay, now the cylinder. So you spell that. You're right. Okay. Now on the cylinder right here. Okay. See what you got? What is that? It's a circle. What is it there? It's a circle. That's a circle, right? Did you see a point? You see a straight line or a point? Anybody? A straight line or a point? No. So the word, maybe scan it over here on the green little strip that says ellipse. Ellipse. Elliptical shape. Ellipse. It's an oval, right? It's going to be a flattened out circle when you see it. So now here's how you do it. Like that one teacher who made the shapes. You know, he was such a perfectionist. In only making these, it took us 30 minutes just to write your name on the back of the paper. 30 minutes just to write your name on the paper. You had to put it in a little spot on the back, literally measure it all out. I mean, put it in a little box and all this stuff. He made me do 20 ellipses because he didn't like the way I did the ellipse. I just do one page, just 20 ellipses, perfect ellipses. Okay? Perfect ellipses, like that. An oval. Now, here's how you'll see some people do it, though. They'll go, this is the most common way. Like an eye or a football top shape like that. What do you see there? The points. Again, there's no point. There's no point on it. So this would be wrong with the point. Okay. And this is a real crucial deal. There's one kid who turned a drawing in one time, perfect shading drawing, but it was completely ruined because his ellipses, so elliptical shapes had points, and that's totally ruined. So another thing I've seen, you'll do this. You'll go like that with a little curve, like that. But again, that's not right. Just why? There's no straight lines. So that's wrong too. So it's got to be a curve all the way around. Okay, so let's draw it out. Okay, so here's how you do the cylinder. Start at the top here with the ellipse. Now you may not see the ellipse on there. Like if it's setting up here like this and you're down low, now standing here I can see it. The lower I get, then it just like you can't, you know. Then it's just going to be a curve. It'll look something like this. It's going to just be like something like this. Okay, when you do the top, if you can't see it at all, but it's normally like that. So now, take it out, draw it down the sides. Now, how do you do the bottom? How do you do the bottom? You do it like this? Is that right? Yeah, straight line? No, there's no straight lines. Not on the bottom either. So, because I'm looking at it, see it's setting on that black box. It's a curve. See right here? It's like that. So you do it like this. Do a little curve to it, like that. And if you don't see the top, you do that this one here. So that's how you do it. Okay, that's what we're supposed to do there. Now, so let's see the lights coming here again. Okay, we'll keep the light source going the same direction. So in this light source, it's just going to probably be on that side of the room over there. And we're not going to have it and go both ones. Okay. So how do you do the shading on this? Vertical bands, cross-contour hatching. They're the best way to go. Okay, vertical bands, cross-contour hatching. Here's what we got. Look at this. You can save the reflected light on the side there if you want. That's always a good thing to do. You think of it, save that reflected light in there, because it's there really. On the dark side, there's that reflected light. Don't forget that. And then I'm just doing some vertical bands. Now when the light's on, this is going to be like contrast. This is going to be like boom, boom, like that, black, white. That's the way you're going to see it. Now in the light today, it'll actually just fade. This is going to fade over to the white side like that. So with the lights on, you're going to see just like more like a contrasting thing. Now to make it also. Cross-contour, you can do a little hatch marks over here. Curve them, because it's a curved round shape. Cross-contour hatching, remember? Shading technique. Just kind of run these through here like this. And then right on that edge, reflective outline to get that darker right on that edge. You want that to be, you want it to wrap around that like a three-dimensional look. Make everything look black and white photographical and three-dimensional, okay? Really darken that side there so it flips around there. Okay. Now, how do you do the cast shadow on this one? This part's done. How do you do the cast shadow? It's just like the cube. Just like the cube. It goes goes off the panel. Long shadow, okay? Okay, right here. Left and right, you got it. Geometric shapes. These on says everything in nature was based off of. Get you a good start on it. All these projects together. December, you'll walk out the door and master at the drawing. Okay. Again, if you're going to soften, just do it on the cast shadow. Be careful with softening the other parts. You can, but be careful. Now, one of the things, you could leave this blank if you want it to be fine, but if you're going to shade the top of the ellipse, you might say, hey, how do you shade that? Anyone would say that? Okay, here's the answer. Look over there. Look at the one, look at the about the second one in, where there's one and there's one underneath it there. See those cast shadows? Look at where they are. Where are they? They're on the opposite side. The light's coming this way, they're on this side. So that when you shade the top of these, it'll actually be on the opposite side. So it's going to be over here. The cast shadow is actually in here. So shade it that way. So that's how that would look on these. And there's necessarily didn't have to have that, but that's where it is. Okay? That's a cylinder. Any question on the cylinder? All right. There you go. There's just one shape to go. One left, and it's the cone. Now the cone is very basic. It's just like the cylinder shading was, but now the cone you're going to say on it, you probably won't see the on the cone. Probably won't see the elliptical shape. Okay, unless you suspend. See that string up there? Whenever we hung it from a string, if we hung it up there, then you would see it, you know, because you're looking up. But otherwise, if it's sitting on the table, see, you're not going to see the bottom. It's just going to be the curve, right? But it could look like, it could look like this if it was suspended. But the cone is this one here. It's a triangular kind of shape, just the curve, like that. Now the cast shadow on that one makes a point compared to the other. So let's just go ahead and throw that in. It's going to come off to a point, which is mainly going to, kind of angles off to a point. Now to shade it, it's like a cylinder, like I said, kind of that same way. It's just vertical bands coming on there, cross contour hatching type thing, and shades the cone. Same way as that contrast, it's the light on, but it's kind of fades out or how you see it look there. Okay, so that's going to be the cone. And again, that side dark on that edge, put that thing around there. Put as much light as you can, and then cross contour lines you can put. Yeah, it's over there on the dark side, shadow side there. This is the cone. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. Not too bad a shape to draw. And then that's it. We'll do it on this. Is going to help us when we get into portraits and the overall stuff. Now, so how do you, of course, the shading of that, just like the other shapes, you're going to have the dark edge of that shadow there. Part of that, and then it's like the other ones. Kind of fades out. So a point over here like this, and this is the cone. You want to move that one? And that's the cone. So that's all of your geometric shapes. So you're going to get the cone, your cylinder. Can you video that?
Yep.
Cylinder, okay. And sphere. And of course the cube, which can be the trickiest if you don't get that perspective part on those, keeping the lines verticals parallel and straight, and the the horizontals and the diagonal. Keep those right, and then you'll be ready to roll. So that's each of the 4 geometric shapes. So if you're not done today, kind of if you are to finish up, practice making those in your sketchbook. Jot some of that stuff down. Practice each one a little bit. Tomorrow when you come in, we'll start the real deal. We'll have it set up, and you can go. Okay, question?
You can show cube one more time.
The cube, one more time? Yeah,
that's
the cube.
the one I did.
So the cube is going to be, let's put the cube on this right here for a second. Now the cube one is right here. So the first thing on the cube, now there's 1-point and 2-point perspective, but we'll get to 2-point later on when we do perspective. But the cube, you draw a square. Direction, like if you're just moving your ruler, it go that same way, right there. Like that? Yeah, and then these go the same direction here, okay? This goes the same. All these are, parallel. They're going the same way here, okay? And then the verticals, right here, they're all going the same way. All those go the same way there, okay? So that's the cube. That's the cube. There's 3 sides, it's blacked out, white, light coming there. And then just gray. It's got about 3 values: gray, white, and black, or something like that. But the key is to keep those parallel lines. But sometimes you'll try it and you'll have it kind of off. But just remember, just keep all verticals parallel, all horizontals parallel, all diagonals going parallel in the same direction too, and then it should turn out right. See that vertical and horizontal, keep those the same direction. And then once you draw it a couple times, you'll have it. A couple times, never done it, and you'll get those. Once you get those, and then like I said, it's really the most tricky one. The only other one that's hard is that ellipse. Sometimes that's the 2 mistakes I see: the cube thing being off, and the ellipse. You'll do it with a point. You have a point on it, so that's the only. Those are the 2 things you want to watch out for. But Father Modern Art, of course, with Cezanne, Van Gogh, Gauguin, another neighbor post-impressionist artists, and then you have. The invention of photography is the reason for abstract and modern art. You wouldn't have that if camera was never invented. But that's kind of what you got. So that's the end of the video. There you go.